sort of too early for me to be making this video, but so sometimes when I sleep, I have sort of what seem like full-length documentaries playing out in my head, sort of like a science lecture or a university lecture where there's sort of charts and graphs and somebody kind of relaying information over top in a certain regard. So this is what this is. It's not really my logical thinking suggesting this, but more of a mental idea. So I'm going to explain to you a few charts that this dream suggested to me, and the most important one, I think, was this chart where it's essentially dark space, and then behind it there's a light. Behind the so it's like a black space, and then there's a little slit. It's very try to get that. Just a little slit of light, but it's black everywhere else. So if you're anywhere else, if there's a point located anywhere else in that black chart, it will not see the slit of light coming through. It will look like absolute darkness. But there is a slit of light that if you're perfectly aligned in, you would see that, okay, there's beautiful light here. The idea is that in important transitions, which maybe we are on, in important transitions, there's a very narrow place that you have to go through. However, if you are not in perfect alignment with that light, that place in which one can go through, then you'd get sucked through. You'd get sucked through to some degree. Okay, now, when I say sucked through, it doesn't mean if you're way off, you'll get sucked through. If you're marginally or somewhat off, you get sucked through. So, first, what I'm saying doesn't mean it's right. And what I'm saying doesn't mean that I am right what I'm saying. Of course. I'm just saying this because it was a perspective that was different for me when I woke up. I'm like, okay, this is a different way of looking at things. It doesn't mean it's right, of course. And the other idea that was this documentary was trying to suggest, documentary quote unquote, was that we are doing this together. If we don't make it together, none of us make it. Everybody's in this together, or we're all fucked. So that whole darkness essentially to me represented oblivion, death. So if you don't get through that little crack of light, because it's small, and in a certain regard, it's just phenomenal that you could, because there's just a small amount of space to go through. Very, very, very small. But another analogy, let's say, was essentially that it was like a picture that I got. You know, if the top of the head was cut off, this would be like a beam of light, and that little slit of space is attracting it in a certain regard, so that in the last minutes it'll just suck it. But it doesn't mean that we can't. You still gotta respond in a good way, or else you're gonna go into that oblivion. And and at a critical hour, in a critical place, there needs to be a lot of people responding fairly well to ensure that. In a cosmic sense, it doesn't really matter. From this, we're all going to float on, or whatever your belief system is. But in another fairly profound planetary level, it matters utterly. This is sort of, in a regard, would be the prime directive. But the light is darkest just before sunrise in a certain regard. So, but yeah, that crack of light was important. So pass that along. Be well.